Hi everyone and welcome to a new Yarnflakes Podcast. My name is Audrey and this is a nitty yarny podcast from the southwest of France. Hello, thank you so much for joining me for this new episode. I hope you are, I don't know why I said episode, but let's go with that. I hope you're all doing very well. I am. It's a very gloomy day today, so the video quality might be a little bit fizzy, but that's what. I have quite a few things to share with you for this time. Last time, if you remember, I kind of split my thing because I had too many things to prepare to show. And so this episode is going to be packed with little accessories that I finished. And so, yes, that's what we're gonna do. I have a pattern release, yay, and 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, I can't count, 4 or 5 finished objects to share with you, and I will finish with a quick work in progress. And yeah, I'm gonna start right away. You can find timestamps to everything that I talk about in the description down below, so if you want to skip any section that you're not interested in, feel free to look at that. I also put links to everything that I talk about, as well as my social media, patterns for sale on Ravelry, and my Patreon account. So, yay! I'm gonna start with a pattern release. I have just published Cherrywood on Ravelry, which is the second installment of my Study in Pink little collection, which is a collection of 4 textured garments whose samples are all knitted in dusty pink yarn. And so I am now publishing the second one, the November one, and it's the Cherrywood sweater, and it's called Cherrywood because I thought that the name fitted the motif and the color on it really well. And Cherrywood is in fact the neighborhood around Dublin where I stayed when I visited Dublin like 10-ish years ago. So yeah, I thought it was really fitting, and I did really like my stay in Dublin, and I would very much like to revisit Ireland now. So yes, in case you have seen last time I released the first pattern of this collection, you will know that I have been working with a French illustrator who is very kindly working on making a drawing to represent each of the garments of this collection. And here is the drawing for Cherrywood, and I really like it. I like it so much. So her name is Charlene. I will pop her Instagram down below, obviously. But yeah, that is the drawing that she made for Cherrywood. And now that you have seen it, the illustration one, I'm gonna just stand a little bit higher so you can see the real one, and you can appreciate the folds marks right in the middle of it. How lovely is that? But yes, Cherrywood is another top-down raglan, this time with a closed neck. It's a simple raglan shape, a rather straight raglan shape. Fitted sleeves that have this texture motif on it. Yes, don't mind the jog pants. This texture motif, which are elongated stitches, from which I have made a video tutorial in the pattern. And yeah, the body is rather straight, and at the bottom the hem is split, and the back hem is a bit longer, and you have decreases along the sides here, so that the 2 hems kind of go in and accentuate the curve of the split here. So yeah, that is what we are having. So the garment is a little bit more fitted than the rest of my garment patterns so far, and I really like it. Again, of course, length and sleeve and body length are adjustable very easily. You could even, because I made 3/4 length sleeve here, but if you make them longer, obviously you can repeat the motif here. And yeah, the sweater is knit in DK it knits up really quickly, and yeah, it is pretty accessible. You do need like to to pay a little bit of attention to remember the motif, but it's very logical and repetitive, as in you know what you're supposed to do as soon as you've done it like once or twice. At first it's written row by row to set it up, but then you just need to remember it a little bit, and then it just makes sense, and it's pretty much smooth sailing from here on. And I really like that sweater. I think I'm gonna get lots of wear of it because it's a little bit more fitted than the rest of my garments that I made so far, and I think it goes really well with pretty much a lot of pants type. And I knitted mine out of Woolapuk yarn, so this is Ida. She very kindly over a year ago maybe 2 years ago, I don't remember. she very kindly sent me a bunch of yarn so that I could design with it. It took me forever to knit with it, and this was her DK weight British merino, non-superwash British merino, and she currently does not have that base in her shop, but she dyes really lovely, natural, earthy kind of tones. So if you're into these relaxing shades of yarn, definitely have a look at her work if you don't know it yet. She's a Danish dyer, and she makes a lovely job. This particular shade of pink is like really, I like it because it's not too much dull, like it's not too much grayish like some other dusty pinks are, but it's not in your face pink either. It's like that perfect sort of gentle in between, and I really like it. I do highly recommend a yarn that is of the same type. It works better with a yarn that has that has a little bit of definition, but that can allow it to, the motif here of the elongated stitches, to stick a little bit as well. But you can check my tested versions to see how it looks differently in different types of yarn, and it's just really, really nice in a nice plump sort of natural decay. One of my testers, which I absolutely love, her name is Chanty Knits on Chanty. I don't know how to pronounce it. Chanty Knits on Ravelry. She's been testing for me for quite a few designs now. Lovely little bird, hello. And she always adds her particular touch, and I really love it. And she made it into a cardigan. I think she's in a cardigan mood because she makes everything into a cardigan lately. But she, depending on your yarn intention, when you knit it, there's gonna be a little hole here at the beginning of the V. It does block out when you block the sweater, but she decided to add a little bead at the base of the V, and I think that's really clever, and that adds a little nice particular touch. So if you like beading your knitwear, just an idea here. It looks really clever, and she sticked it, and she made a shawl collar type thing, and it looks really good. I really like it. So lots of possibilities for this cherry wood, and I hope you like it. It's now on Ravelry, and there's 20% off for the release until next Sunday, in case you do need the little discount and you actually want the pattern now. By the way, there might be something coming next week regarding promotions and stuff. Just keep an eye out, maybe on Instagram and Ravelry. I might be in something that I'm not sure yet, but I'll see. Keep an eye out anyway, because things are happening towards the end of November and beginning of December. So I think I've said everything about cherry wood. You can see how it is if I'm standing properly, and lovely little detail. That stitch motif here I absolutely love. You might remember it is something I used back in January in the Vercors cowl, which is this lovely worsted weight cowl, and it has already this sort of stitch. I actually planned on making the sweater for like maybe a long time ago, and then I got the opportunity to make this cowl, and I just thought it would be nice to sort of try my hand as this motif first on the cowl. And so even though the sweater idea was there first, they kind of reversed in terms of existing out there. So yeah, so you can see sort of, yeah, continuity. I will talk about this a little bit more later. I have, yes. I'm gonna move on to other finished objects. And a few months ago, like months and months ago, I was contacted by Yarn Vibes, so Love Yarn Vibes, which is an Irish company who is working at reintroducing and working towards providing natural, authentic Irish yarns. And I was contacted by them asking if I would be interested in trying out their yarns and sharing, talking about them to you. And I said yes, because I was genuinely interested. I rarely say yes to these things. I most often say no, either because I don't have the time or because I don't really like the company for various reasons. But in that case, I was interested. And so they asked me to give them like a few of the things I would be interested in. So I gave them a few things, thinking they can just pick any of them, any of like the one that least bothers you, so I can try it. And they actually sent me all of them. So they provide a range of yarn that is either dyed in semi-solid, in variegated. They also have kits with 4 different little colors that you can make for one small accessory. And their yarns either come in sport or worsted / Aran weight. I chose to try the Aran weight, and yeah, I first received 2 skeins of their veil yarn. So all their yarn is 100% Irish wool, and I shared it on Instagram, and it didn't occur to me, but their website is pretty much marketed towards Northern America, and so I didn't question it because like they're all like setup is in Ireland. My package came from Ireland, but when I posted it on Instagram, actually someone commented, a French person commented, wondering if this was an American company, and true, I didn't think about it, but it's true that there's a tendency, since Irish wool is so trendy, there's a tendency in foreign companies importing it and then shipping it back, and yeah, just trying to use the Irish wool vibe, but not really being authentic and not really doing anything to sort of help the industry that's left there. And yeah, we were talking in French with this person in the comments, and I tagged Grace from Babel's Traveling Yarns, because in case you don't know Grace, she's a lovely dyer and podcaster, Irish, and she is really involved in her community, like she's in her weaving guilds and spinning guilds and everything. And I recall her talking about the industry. She makes retweets as well, lovely. I recall her talking about the industry in Ireland and like obviously the state that it's in, thanks to jolly old. I recall her talking about the industry in Ireland and the state that it's in, thanks to the jolly old English people. But yeah, and so I tagged Grace talking to that French person, and poor Grace, she must have been like, why are they talking in French and tagging me? And yeah, she actually understood everything that we said, and she came and helped us understand things better. And so Yarn Vibes do work with one of the apparently 2 last scouring industry in Ireland. So that's great. I got, little side note here, I got 2 skeins of their Veil range, which is their semi-solid range, and I made this, which I will quickly show you and talk about later in the next episode. Keep an eye out for this, because this is a little surprise for later. I really like it. It's natural and woolly, but it's not itchy at all. It's like one step down from the loopy yarn, so it's like still natural and woolly and super warm, like incredible. As you can see in color work, it made the smoothest fabric, and if you look inside, it makes such thick, amazing, really dense things. So for warm accessory, warm stuff, yeah. And I really like how it looks in color work, and yeah, this is a surprise for later. I will talk about this again when the time comes. Again, eyes open on Instagram and Ravelry. And then I also got one of their kits, because they sell their yarns either in skeins or in little kits with different combinations of colors. Price wise, their skeins are around $30, which is a bit above usual pricing stuff, but like I do understand it from a sustainable point of view and the work that they're doing in promoting local industry. And so the skeins are around $34, $36, and they also make kits with 4 different colors, which are about 180 meters as far as the Aran weight goes, and that's enough to make yourself a small accessory. And it sells well around $30, and I think this is great value if you want to test yarn vibes. I highly recommend the kits, because like you have different colors and you can make a whole little accessory rather than having to buy a bunch of multicolored, like a bunch of different skeins to make a multicolored project. And so I got one of these kits in the rose hip colorway, and I wanted to try and make a project out of it to sort of see what could be done from this. And so I made this hat, and so as you can see, I had this like really lovely red, the grey, the yellowish green, and the orange rust color. And I used almost everything of the red and grey, obviously, and I have lots left over from the other 2 colors. I kind of pushed it as far as usage here, but you definitely have enough if you're making a more standard sort of project with just color work and using all 4 colors. You have more than enough for a hat, for a pair of mittens, or for a cowl. So yeah, I think that is a great idea. I did this because I wanted to test the design idea that I have, and at the same time see how this yarn would cable, and I think it looks pretty good. So not only lovely in color work, but also it seems that texture wise it's a great idea. So yeah, this little hat here is going to remain a test, because like again, super thick, super nice, super warm. And yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say about Yarn Vibes. Yeah, I do recommend that you check it out. If you like for gifts as well, you can gift one of their kits, or if you want to try, I highly recommend them, because, or if you have the means, obviously, like a sweater in this. If you can't stand loopy yarns, maybe try this. It's a different price range, obviously, but it's, if you can afford it, it's really, really a great alternative. I think it makes such a dense, warm fabric, and it looks good in color work and in texture. So yes, about this hat, I tried something, and I thought it needed refining, and so I really liked the idea of mixing color work and cables, making like various shapes, and so I tried something. and I gonna pop a picture here of what I then did. And I did like some sort of honeycomb hexagonal shapes with the color work in between. And I absolutely loved this hat. It looks like a little strawberry. I really like it, and I was really happy with it, really proud of it. It was really fun, and yeah, I did that. I was all set to start working on making it into a proper design. And then I was on Ravelry at night, as you do, and I saw, you might have seen them too, because they were on the Hot Right Now page on Ravelry, and quite rightfully so. A designer who's, I forgot her last name, it's Mary something. She published what was called like reversible honeycomb hat, and there's a cowl and a scarf as well. And it's a completely different technique. It's so clever. It's like a garter stitch with reversible cables, so it's a completely different technique, but it looks exactly the same. And so I was like, oh no. And yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about this again, because I'm cursed lately. I've been a bit bummed because this has happened like non-stop. It started in like the fact, I want to talk about originality and the fact that certain designs happen to look alike and it's an accident. And it started in the summer. I released a lace wrap with the lace motif, and you can look it up, you're gonna see it, I guess, what I'm talking about. And then a month later, another big designer released exactly the same thing. I'm like, nope. But actually, like when that came out, I was like, it's a designer whose work I admire. Like the designs are really similar, but like obviously there's no question. And I saw this and I sort of took it as, oh, well, I had a good idea. If someone I really admire and whose work is like rightfully praised, I mean, and I had a similar idea, like, well, I had a good idea. But then it happened again and again and again, and it's sort of, yeah, it's just bad luck, I guess. And the thing is, I think there's a really unhealthy situation around this, because designers barely talk about this, and the fact that no one addresses the origin of your designs, where you get the motifs idea from, if you got there somewhere, somewhere in a stitch dictionary or whatever, how things came to you. It sort of makes things sound as if you own stuff or invent stuff, and obviously some people invent stuff, but I'm very peculiar when someone says they invented something, especially in knitting. And the thing is, you kind of have this paranoia move where you're like, you're really scared that, in my case, not so much that someone is going to copy my work. I guess I don't have that much of an ego that I think people would want to copy my work. But like, I'm scared, like, what if I didn't see these lovely patterns on Ravelry and I released my hat and it just looked exactly the same? And it's just really sad and uncomfortable, because when it's an accident, you feel awful. And the fact that designers don't talk about this between themselves and are not transparent about their inspiration and their design process, it makes a really unhealthy situation where people start to take sides and people imagine that designers are fighting with each other and there are like rivalities between one another. And like, the thing is, I remember once I shared, like I said, I talked about this in my last episode, the mosaic thing, and it happens again. Why do you come to me telling me that a design that I shared because I like it from another creator, that you think they copied X, Y, or Z. Like, why don't you go and talk to them? If you do that, it's because you think that they indeed copied and that they're indeed evil and that they meant harm. And it's just, it makes this sort of situation where you feel like the designer is in their bubble behind walls, and you're like, as soon as you start to question their genius, God-sent, inventive design, that you're attacking them. But no, I think it's normal that accidental resemblance happens. It happens. That's just how it is. I'm thinking of a blog post by Claire Mountain. If you don't know Claire Mountain, on her blog Sister Mountain, she shares a ton of resources for designers, like about grading, about calculating meterage estimates. And I recall her making a post about this because she makes a lot of minimalistic designs. And obviously the more minimalist the design, the more risky it is, because from an outside point of view, you're gonna see a stitch motif, and if you saw it elsewhere, you're gonna say, oh, you copied that. But no. And it's like, where's, if you think that way, where's the line? If you think that someone invented a certain lace motif, then where's the, like, can we not use ribbing? Like, you see, it's, where's the line for this? And I think you just need to use a little bit more common sense, because it is so obvious when people copy other designs, and it happens. Like when the stitch pattern is the same, when it's placed the same, the construction is the same, the numbers are the same, and even the style of the picture is the same. Yeah, and the problem is, because of this general unhealthy and defiant and paranoia mood, when plagiarism happens for real with ill intent from certain people or companies, it's like we can't defend ourselves, because if you, it's like you either go all or nothing. You can't say, on the other hand, that two independent designers can have similar ideas and then forbid a huge company to say the same to you when they actually copy. And I think we should really talk about this more and talk about it amongst designers, because things happen, accident happens, resemblance happens, and when it's genuine and you made, like, the question you have to ask is, when you made your design, did you have someone else's design open next to it so that you could copy stuff? Like, and the thing is, a lot of plagiarism is actually that, and you don't see it, because from an exterior point of view, you're gonna be a little bit focused on a stitch pattern that can be really common, or that can come from a stitch dictionary, and this belongs to no one, so there is no copy. But you're not going to see if someone copied someone else's constructions or numbers, and they just stuck a different motif on the front, and so the designs are going to look different, so you're going to think that they're different, while in fact it's an actual copy. And that happens a lot. And yeah, it's just, I think if designers were to be a little bit more open about this, it would be better, and we wouldn't be so uneasy and so sad when things happen. Because then the thing is, you start working on something, you're all happy, the idea came to you some way, and then you make it and you share it, and then no one is going to go and tell you, look, it looks a bit like my design, or it looks a bit like someone else's design. No, you're gonna see it somewhere else, someone mentioning your idea in a passive-aggressive manner, saying that you copied another person. And so if you don't talk to someone, if you're not honest and transparent, like, what is this? Is this like Mean Girls, high school sort of vibe? I hate that. I just hate that in social media, and that's sort of really nasty, passive-aggressive, mean attitude where you just fussing your head over things that don't really deserve that much time and effort. And it's just, yeah, things happen. And it happened quite a while for me since the summer. Like I said, with other designers, I noticed that I started working on something and they as well started working on something using the same stitch motif, and I was like, oh no. And I think the thing you have to do is to contact the person, and when you notice something, just contact the person instead of like rambling in your little bubble and being paranoid and sort of creating this really unhealthy, nasty environment out of thin air, because there's no problem when the accident is genuine, and it happens a ton of times, and when the designers themselves are fine, because sometimes more often than not the designs don't overlap. Like, I think it's actually very interesting you start from one stitch motif and you can have fun on Ravelry trying to see all the patterns that use it, but they use it in a lot of different manners. And it's quite fun, because that way you can see each creators, how they do it, how they incorporate it to the design, what modification they did. And I think this has an interest, and it just means that there are more options when the designs don't overlap each other. Now, when the designs do overlap, and for this I think you need to use common sense as well, because sometimes, like I said, if you think that designers invent a stitch motif and they belong to it, which again happens most of the time, when someone really invented something, they're not gonna have any issue with people using it. I'm thinking about the ziggurat method by Asa Tricosa, I think that's her name. She made a really clever construction method where it's like a top-down contiguous thing where you don't break the yarn. Like, it looks really, really smart. I really need to try that. She has the book with a bunch of different designs using that construction, and I've seen other designers reference to her and say my design is inspired by her construction, and give credit where credit is due when someone really invented something. But when something is old as time or is really popular and is everywhere, don't act like it belongs to someone and there's plagiarism when there is not, because then when there's actual plagiarism, it's very difficult to make your point and to defend yourself against large companies who have absolutely no morals. Like, they don't have that problem. We see, I am here, I think, with a lot of other designers worrying and getting paranoid, and other big companies, they don't care about copying others' work. But yeah, anyway, where was I forgot. But yeah, when the designs don't overlap, I think it's okay, and you just need to be a little bit more transparent and to mention it and to acknowledge that other people are working alongside you and that you're not closed in your bubble. That way people are not gonna be like, hey, wondering if you copied someone or something, and talking to each other about this without never ever contacting the people that are actually concerned by the matter. But yeah, it's just, you need to use a little bit of common sense. Some techniques and stitches are really, really common and basic, and if the design overall has nothing to do with the other one, like, there's no issue. Like, there's no need to pretend like there's this fake war and insane, unhealthy environment. And the problem is sometimes the patterns do overlap and it's unnecessary. For the hat, for example, like I showed you, or this. I had the intention of making a shawl using this same motif, but in two colors, and basically the contrast color would have been the stitches. I had planned to do that. I have the yarn for it. It's going to be a collaboration. But I saw that, you probably saw it as well because it's really nice. Melody from Bee Mandarins, she's currently working on something quite similar. It doesn't look exactly the same, but it's close enough. And she's making a cowl, I think, and a scarf, like using something close to this, and it looks really great. And I wouldn't have done anything different. And so I caught it beforehand, and I mean, I have enough ideas, I think. Like, I want to do enough things that I don't need to cling on to an idea if I see that someone else has done it. And I sort of feel like, oh good, she did it, I don't have to bother. I don't have to bother doing this now. I can do something else. Go get her thing. It's lovely. She made it in Cyrano, I think, by Derrière Natura, so it's like really thick and woolly and nice. She's putting fringes, really like it. Anyway, so I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do something else. So yeah, when you catch things when it's not too late is good. When it's too late, I think like the only thing you have to do is to just talk to each other and to just be honest and acknowledge that this happens, and that, well, yeah, there's no need to create like fake animosity. That's not a word in English, is it? Rivalry, like to be mad at someone else for an accident. Yeah. Anyway, I have changed my hat. So if you do like the honeycomb hexagonal system, do check that pattern. I will link it below, I think, if I can find it again, because it's great. But I decided to change it myself, and I didn't quite know what to do, because like obviously I had this hexagonal thing stuck in my head, but then I figured as long as I make cables that leave empty spaces, what are we leaving for? Is that the lyrics? Yes. As long as I have cables that leave empty spaces, it's fine. And so I sort of went for a more cathedral kind of look, and I did this. And so basically you have these two cables and a bigger one in between, and it sort of alternates between the two, and it makes this elongated, it looks like an organ, you know, not an organ, but like the music thing in churches. I don't know, it looks very architectural, and with like these drops on top. I really like it. And I do really like the construction, like using both cables and colorwork at the same time. It's really pleasant to knit. It's quite smooth, even if you need to catch floats every once in a while when you're making the big changes. But it's just, it works so quickly, and it's quite a nice technique. I really like it. I kept the dot colorwork because I thought it looked really nice. Yeah, I do like how it looks. I used Ulysse from Derrière Natura, so this is their new burgundy yarn. It's Merlot. It's so lovely. I have a cardigan quantity in a thick yarn because I want to make a cardigan, and this is argile, so clay. They're lovely light pink, and I really like this hat. And yeah, it's gonna be test knitted soon. I need to send the pattern to testers, and yeah, it will be out like sometime next year. I'm gonna bring it to Romania to make lovely pictures of it, hopefully in the snow. But yeah, this is what this hat has become. And yeah, I just think it's interesting from a design perspective to look that we came from this to this with all the little events in between. I'm gonna grab my battery because my phone is gonna die. There we go. So yeah, I will talk a little bit more about this hat when I release it sometime next year, but yeah, I just wanted to address that topic a little bit. And yes, moving on quickly, I wanted to show you that I finished my Mellon Headband by Sari Nordlund. So I've talked about this a lot as I was knitting on it. I don't have much else to say about this, except that I really like it. I blocked it, so you need a tube basically with this beautiful cable and slip stitch motif. Really, really love it. Once I made the tube, I blocked it by putting a cardboard piece of the right width in it, and then I seamed it. I seamed it a little bit like a savage. I just made a sort of grafting thing. There's a tutorial in the pattern, but when I wanted to make it, the tutorial is on Vogue knitting website, and the website was in maintenance when I wanted to make it, so I sort of went like, okay, I'm just gonna graft it like a savage. And yeah, I'm just gonna wear it to show you. Wearing headbands require a certain hair management, right? Right? Yeah, there it is. I really like it. It looks so precious. I love it. It's absolutely, it's nice. I really, really love it. I'm gonna bring it to Romania as well, and I'm sort of picturing fairy tale like pictures in the snow that I'm never gonna get, but because I'm unlucky. I love snow, but I never get snow wherever I go. I would go to Iceland in February and it would not snow. Like, the whole thing would be dry, and yeah, if it was me there, I swear. That's how big of a snow repulsive I am. But yeah, I really like it. Yay. I used Heidi ID, which is a French indie dyer, merino yak and silk blend, which I think is great. I really think a silk blend or something that shines like bamboo as well could work really well. It's lovely. It makes like a little bit of a jewel thing. This is the Grenat colorway, which is this deep red. I really, really like it. I'm gonna keep it on for the rest of the podcast. And yeah, like I said, I did talk about it quite a lot as I was knitting on it. It's really nice if you've made cables before, no problem. Really, really lovely, a beautiful design, and I absolutely love it. And yes, I quickly want to show you one last finished object because I want to mention the yarn. I've made convertible mittens for my mom for her birthday, and I've used so it's a convertible method from my Albiera mittens, and I've used Filcolana, the Peruvian Highland wool. And I just wanted to recommend the yarn because I really like Filcolana brand. Like, they have affordable yarns from a broad range of natural wools, and this Peruvian Highland wool is like the worsted weight version of Pernia, which is their fingering / sport / decay, because it's like, it's really woolly plump yarn that blooms, and it just accommodates a wide variety of projects and gauges. Looks great in colorway. It has a nice definition, and I think if you want affordable yarn for winter projects, Filcolana Peruvian Highland wool is a nice option. I think it's perfect for these mittens. I have 2 skeins of a lighter grey that I'm gonna do for me, but this is for my mom. Just simple mittens. And yes, what else did I want to say? Filcolana is quite easily available in Europe. I'm not sure how it is in America and elsewhere, but you have knit picks, so don't complain. I saw that they released new Felici colors. Every time I kind of want to leave a comment saying, hey, when will you learn that other countries exists? Because they only deliver to English speaking countries, mind you, besides South Africa, because who cares about South Africa, right? And yeah, just the rest of the world apparently doesn't matter. So I'm gonna move on to quickly show you a work in progress. Last time I showed you my a raglan with options. So I was working on a raglan design, and the sample was like version A with a ribbed neckline, straight body, straight hem, and a texture motif under the arm. And this was for my boyfriend, and now it's gone. It's shipped. Is supposed to go and pick up the package today, by the way. But I started working on my version, so version B, which is gonna have all the other options. So I'm making a raglan with options. So this one has a I-cord neckline. It's gonna be really difficult to show because it's not blocked. Waist shaping, hips shaping. You can see how I'm made, basically. And it's gonna have a curved high-low hem like this. The back is slightly longer than the front. Really like this. It looks stupid when it's not blocked. Look at this. Impossible to show. But yes, I'm making my version. I'm trying to finish it. I only have the sleeves to go now. So this is really nice. And yeah, it has that texture motif under the arms. I'm using cheap yarn. Again, disclaimer, especially since I just talked about plagiarism, drops. I don't want to support them. I had this in my stash. This is the Flora range. Use it if you have it, if you don't mind. Find a better company if you can. And this is Holst Garn Titicaca, so it's their 100% alpaca. As you can see, the Flora is a natural shade. This is Sandstone in Titicaca. So this is quite silly to say in French because caca means poop. They're two I had to say to YouTube that my videos were not for kids. Maybe I'm gonna get flagged for this. They're two different shades, and I quite like the result. It makes this sort of heathered kind of tone, which I like it. It's like a mild global effect. It's nice. I like how it's looking. So, yay! Version B of that option sweater. Make up your own however you wish. And yeah, I hope I will be able to release this early next year. So yeah, this is what we're gonna do. And I think that's it. I think I've said everything for this episode. I've said enough, haven't I? Yeah, I will see you again. This is quite an abrupt ending. Hi. Yes. I think I've caught up everything that I had knitting and I didn't show you yet. Not everything, but most of the things that I could show you. And yeah, I will see you again mid-December, like right before I leave for my holidays. I will show you, I will make an episode with like the third sweater of the Studying Pink collection. And yeah, a bunch of other things. Like I said, keep an eye open on Instagram /Ravelry because some things are coming. Some surprises are being tossed around. And yeah, that's it for me for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a lovely end of November /beginning of December. As soon as it hits 1st of December, you're allowed to put up Christmas token decorations. Just, yeah. Yay! Have a lovely rest of the day, week, everything. And I will see you next time